Hi, this is Russ Anderson. In this tutorial, I'm going to show some techniques for handling longer 360 VR shots. Now we're going to work with this shot from 360 Rise that we've done and used previously, but we're going to pretend it's longer and we're going to make it generally harder. So when you use the 360 tracking setup script, it sets up a linearized view into the shot in a particular area, and it's over this way for the settings that we use. And you see the different terrain moves through the window that's set up over the course of the shot. But it might be that in different parts of the shot you need to look in a different direction. So it might need to look over here later on in the shot. And it might be something, a drone flying along the edge of a lake, say. You can't track anything over the water, so there's some particular area that's trackable, the rest of it isn't. Could be something looking out a window in a car. And so you want to change the look direction over the length of the shot. And that's actually relatively easy to do, so we're going to do that here. So the minus 145 and minus 20 are the initial look direction that we're setting up here. That gives us this view here. And again, you see different parts of terrain moving through that. But if we want to change that, we can bring up the image preprocessor. So I'm going to hit the P command. So that script just set up the image preprocessor. That's what the script does. And here's our minus 145 and minus 20. And those are just constant throughout the length of the shot. So if we want to make some changes, we can click on the Make key there and now start changing around the look direction. So maybe we'll look back towards that mountainside and look down a little bit so that we're not looking at the wing. So now we've adjusted the view direction to stay looking back at that mountain over the course of the shot. So you can go and add any number of keys and animate that up however you like. I'll just point out that that data is sitting out here in the graph editor as well. Here are the values. Let's just zoom those. So the values are here, and you may have any number of keys there, and you can change the key types to smooth keying and whatnot, however you need. So that's the first important thing. You can change the viewing direction over the length of the shot. Now, we probably also want to make some changes to the auto tracker parameters for longer shots. So we can increase the number of trackers per frame because we definitely want to keep a good solid number over the length of the shot. And that effectively will also increase this value. This maximum tracker value isn't generally going to be relevant. We're going to use at least this in most circumstances. This minimum tracker per frame value is actually the most significant one, so it can actually send the tracker count up over the 500 as well. And we might also want to adjust this minimum tracker length here depending on how stable the shot is, so that if it's a stable shot, we can make this value a bit larger and have more stable trackers. The trackers that are very short tend to be less accurate. You have less of a baseline kind of to figure out where they are, and they can be affected by things like stitching lines that move by and so on. So we'll just increase those particular values. Now I can go back and run the auto tracker so that we get our trackers to work with. So with that done, we'll move on to solving. And there's our entire shot here. In a long shot, it can be beneficial to do the shot more gradually, not all at the same time. And to do that, I'm going to hold down the Shift key and just bring in the end of the shot. So we're only going to do the first bunch of frames here. And after that, we'll go and we'll steadily increase the range of frames that we're doing. And the advantage of that is you get to see if there are problem areas and make immediate changes if bad trackers pop up along the way. I'll point out you want to pick a portion of the shot that has a good perspective shift to do this initial solve so that you get the most accurate information about where everything is. And you can actually control that even more specifically using these begin and end frames, even if you don't shorten the shot. And if you're not getting a good solve, you can also use that slow but sure to take a really careful look. So when you look at our initial solve here, we've got around an 8/10 error, so that seems reasonable enough. So we can also go and do a tracker cleanup along the way. See, we do have some trackers that have higher errors, so we can actually just take out those particular ones. We don't want to take out unsolved trackers, by the way, especially because we're going to be needing to solve those very shortly. So we'll just take out a couple of those less good trackers. Now we'll just increase the range of frames that we're going to handle, and we switch to refine mode so that the solve picks up right where it left off and just continues to update it some more. And again, we can go and do a tracker cleanup and see if there's anything that's particularly problematic. And you can take a look at some of what's going on. It's not essential to go and take all these out. Now, it looks like two of these, if I'm increasing the value there, you see two of them are staying around, so they're probably really not good at all, those two. So I don't know if they've hopped to something else maybe over the course of the shot or what, but we'll just take those out. Now I'll just keep on moving through the shot. Now you notice sometimes you'll run into situations where you'll get this message here, warning, not a crisp solution, and I'm just going to cancel this immediately, and it'll take a little while to cancel. This happens when there are some problematic trackers, and really we want to cut this off early and take a look at what's happening. If it keeps on using the safer algorithm, everything is going to kind of drag to a very slow halt. That's a non-multiprocessor algorithm by necessity. So we're just going to hit OK, and again we're going to run the tracker cleanup and take a look at what we've got. And it looks like there are some fairly bad looking trackers there. Oops. What can happen with some of these, maybe not these, but some of this shot, there are these ridge lines, and some of the trackers can go behind the ridge lines. That doesn't seem to be the case here. We could investigate them, or we can just delete them. And I'm just going to go and now run that again, just without increasing the tracker, the range of frames at all. And you see now it's solved immediately. So you never want to be deleting a massive number of trackers at each stage, but if there are a bunch that are causing trouble, it's fair game to just toss them and ask questions later. So we'll just do the same thing. And now it's worked its way all the way through the shot. So, the point of this is to be able to work your way through a really long shot and prevent it from getting sidetracked by trackers that are bad along the way, which can really dramatically increase the amount of compute time that's required. So, once we've gone and done the overall solve, now we can do our coordinate system setup using a couple of these trackers. And now we can run the stabilize from camera path. And, even though we had the camera viewpoint, the linearized camera view, being moved around initially using the image preprocessor, basically that all gets taken into account. Now when we go to stabilize it, basically that's a wash and doesn't have any effect. So we wind up with a nice overall stabilized shot, just as if we hadn't had to do any of that in the first place. So we get the nice result that we want, despite any kind of view direction changes that we made in the beginning. So hopefully this gives you an idea of how you can handle more complicated shots with thousands of frames. Yes, it does take some more examination to do this. Supervision, you as the tracking artist are the brightest thing here, and part of the idea is to take advantage of what you know and what you can do to be able to get better results in less time. So thanks, hope this has helped.